This is Matt from MGMT Boston. Today we are at Underscore VC in the Financial District with the indomitable Lily Lyman, managing partner at Underscore. Lily, what are you and your team building at this early stage venture capital firm here?
Well, Matt, it's good to see you. Thanks for having me back again. So Underscore, we are an earliest stage venture firm. The way we think about it is we really help at the moment of inception. So we think about our superpower being, how do we turn talent into companies? So for us, that is earliest stage investing. We're almost always the first check, helping put a company into business, usually at the pre-seed, sometimes at the seed, depends on what it might be. We are big and excited about the Boston innovation ecosystem, and particularly the extraordinary talent that comes out of here. As you know, Boston's one of the top 3 talent ecosystems in the world. And so over half of our capital is invested here, but the rest is also invested elsewhere. Over a third of our portfolio comes from places like Harvard, MIT, Northeastern, and the incredible academic institutions here. So that is what we're building. We're trying to build a modern entrepreneurial venture firm that's meeting this moment in venture and meeting this moment in technology innovation. And increasingly, we're thinking about, in this age of AI, the thing that's really going to drive alpha in company building is the human edge.
Yeah.
It's the right founder, it's the right people, and the right introductions, the right connections at the right time.
Yes, I echo that. And tell us about 2025, obviously a big year for you and the firm in terms of accomplishments here and really wide. What were you excited about as we look back, and then we'll talk about 2026.
Yeah. I mean, the most exciting thing is when you see exceptional founders who are going after a really big problem do that successfully, and then oftentimes the outside world recognizes it with outside-led financings and things like that. So a couple of big highlights for us. Obviously, the Goldcast acquisition from CVENT was a really big deal.
Congrats.
Huge congrats. That was a team that came out of Harvard. We're scrappy as heck in a market that had a lot of changes between COVID and Hop-In and things like that. And this is a team that just demonstrated what we look for, which is incredibly high velocity learning and pace of execution. I've never seen people build products so quickly, particularly in an age before that was easy. They adapted to the AI moment very quickly and aggressively and thoughtfully and with high conviction. And they built a very good team and a very strong culture. We just had the group here in our office celebrating the acquisition, and they had a great outcome and a very well-deserved outcome. So that was a big highlight. There's a couple companies here that continue to be racing, and there's a stage of company growth where it's not easy to be doing that. But companies like CloudZero, Marley in the communication platform space, and companies like TetraScience from our Fund 1 portfolio. These are all companies that are at that scale now where they're at a moment where AI is unlocking new opportunities, figuring out how do they capture that, leaning into their customer base and the differentiation that they already have. So those have been fun to see those continue to go off to the races. And then some of the newer portfolio companies, there's a whole bunch that are not yet announced, but several that are. There's a couple in the cybersecurity space that have just been literally rocket ships, and they're demonstrating what does it mean to build and grow with incredible velocity in this market. So companies like Terra, which raised a nice round from Felicis, recognizing their growth and potential. A company called ORION Security in that space as well, and there's several others. So there's a lot to be excited about at all different stages of the company building journey from the earliest days of founding, and we're excited to tell you more about those as they are ready to share, and those who are having exits in a market where that's not easy. So lots of stuff to be excited about.
Yes, and a lot more to come, which I've gotten a little bit of insight into.
Inside scoop.
And as we think about 2026, what are you excited about, whether it's in Boston or beyond, in sort of the AI wave is on, what's that been like here?
Yeah. I think there's a ton to be excited about. I think, we see 2026 as a year where we think some of the things that have been exciting in 2025 but hadn't really taken shape in terms of the opportunity around AI applications. The first wave of AI has been a lot about the foundational models and the supporting infrastructure to make these things possible. We think this next chapter, there's going to be a lot of opportunity at the application layer, particularly in different verticals where we spend a lot of time. So things like insurance, health, life sciences, commerce, logistics. There was the MIT report last year of people aren't really adopting it and things like that. I think that's going to continue to change.
Yeah.
I think we'll see way more enterprise adoption, and the ROI I think will really come into fruition in the next year. So that's something we're very excited about, both for our existing portfolio companies and areas we're excited to invest in. I also think that we're seeing this unlock of interesting investment opportunities that weren't possible several years ago. So we've always been B2B software investors, and we are seeing new intersections where those opportunities are arising. So you've heard me talk about science and life sciences and AI, and what are the opportunities across that entire value chain. There's a company that is not yet public, but is basically kind of doing what Waymo did for self-driving car, but doing that for science inside a lab. This combination of sensors, AI, new data to figure out how do you actually unlock those models. So those intersection points are things that we're excited about. New business models are things we're excited about in terms of, we've talked a little bit about the services industries, and now they are becoming AI-enabled services. We're invested in several of those. We're excited to invest in those because those are unlocking labor markets, not just software markets. So that's on the investment side. Those are some things we're excited about. Robotics is another area we've made several investments we're excited about. I also feel like Boston's having a moment, and props to Ryan Durkin and the whole group of the AI Coalition. We're excited to be a part of it. Thank you, Halligan, for creating some fuss online, because it's created a really good dialogue. It's created some good momentum. I think people are fired up. I think in this moment where obviously Silicon Valley is having a huge pull, to us, our view on that is building bridges. Different ecosystems have different benefits. They have different things that they bring. Boston brings incredible talent that is perpetually refilling, essentially. It brings people who solve really hard problems that are going to be needed to be solved, but they're not flash-in-the-pan solutions, but it requires real deep domain expertise. And there's a grit and a hustle that happens here that's a little bit quieter, but it's here. And so I think when you can build bridges of those things to things like maybe West Coast later stage capital and some of the momentum in how you build companies, that's changing. So I'm excited for Boston to be fired up and a little bit pissed off, and I think that's a good thing, and I think we're excited to lean into that.
Absolutely. Now, as you think about what you learned over the past year, whether it's as an investor or even talking with early stage founders, maybe it's about the intersectionality, maybe it's about Boston, something in between, what would you share with other members of the community about sort of what it's been like here at Underscore and in your brain over the past year?
We're in a market where volatility is the new normal.
Sure.
And so I think as an investor, and as I see it as founders too, you have to balance conviction with agility. And that's a really hard thing to do, to know, am I reading the tea leaves correctly? Am I taking the right market insights? But do I also have a clear point of view of where I want to go? I'm finding that as an investor in these moments, I'm seeing it with founders. And I think the attribute that we have always looked for in founders, but has become even more important in this moment, is what we call high velocity learners, or it's that skill of aptitude. Like, how quickly do you learn, take those learnings, put them into execution, and then figure out the next thing you're learning. And so for the companies in our portfolio that have had breakaway momentum last year, both the early stage ones and the later stage ones, that's the attribute that is making the difference. And then as an investor, I think it's a similar thing, which is sort of adapting to the changes, not resting on your laurels, bring some hustle, bring some heat, and be perpetually curious and learning. We all have to stay on our toes, but in a way that's grounded in what you believe to be true. So high velocity learning is the thing that we're spending a lot of time thinking about.
Very good insight. And last but not least, how can we help Underscore grow here in Boston and very far beyond?
Yes. Appreciate you asking. We are always looking to meet exceptional talent. As we said, I think our thing that we do is help turn talent into companies. And so whether it's future founders, current founders, exceptional people who maybe have been at a fast growing startup before and getting the itch to go try something else, those are the people we want to meet. We want to meet them early. And whether they want to help a portfolio company join something themselves, wherever it might be, we want to help be a connector of people. I think early stage investing, and most importantly early stage building, it's all about connection, and we want to help be a center of gravity for that. So please introduce us to great folks, and if there's people you think we should meet, let us know.
Definitely. This is Lily Lyman, the managing partner at Underscore VC, Matt from MGMT Boston on this episode of Lantern. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.